Senator Scullion.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy Chair. I rise to speak today of the passing of Bill South, an unsung hero who has changed the lives of Aboriginal people in some of Australia's most remote Indigenous communities. Bill South passed away suddenly a day before his 63rd birthday on the 16th of March this year in the remote community of Robertson River, a place he deservedly came to call his home. Robertson River is in the Gulf of Carpentaria, around 150 kilometres southeast of Borroloola and about 800 kilometres northwest of Tennant Creek. And anyone who's visited this community, this area, would acknowledge it's one of the most remote areas of the community and probably of Australia. Bill was the Chief Executive Officer of Mungubba Aboriginal Corporation for the last decade. His son Rick says that while his dad will be missed as a brother, a father, an uncle, a grandfather and a partner, he will be missed even more by those in Robertson River. His son went on to say, "He showed them a dream, he gave them the skills and the desire to achieve that dream. The dream of turning Robertson River back into a self-sufficient cattle station that would stand on its own 2 feet, would no longer have to hold its hand out to the government for grants for its survival into the future." He said the only way to truly understand Bill's impact is to see the smiles on the faces of the kids running around the community, or the pride of the young stockmen mustering the scrub bulls, or the determination of the community elders and the council members in the meetings as they work together to reach this dream. And I've been very lucky, Madam Acting Deputy President, to witness this firsthand. I go into so many communities and I know that Senator Siewert travels amongst these communities, many of the same communities. And it's not that you're depressed or upset when you leave, but you sort of think there's this sense of the sameness. And if you've gone there to the same communities over 20 years, there doesn't seem to be much change. And the great thing about visiting communities like Robertson River and Finke and Borroloola, wherever Bill went, he made a difference. He got things done, and most importantly, he took people along with him. Wherever he went, you saw a change for the better, and you could see the community actually feel different about itself. He got the pride back in the community, he got people working again, and what he saw were the benefits of work. Bill had a philosophy that work wasn't a right, it was a privilege. And he seemed to imbue that in the community, who realised that there weren't many jobs. They were important things, they were valuable things, and you should strive to get up early to make sure you did them well and to actually have that real benefit of working and getting something done. Bill was great. Perhaps it was because of his background, but he could always get something done on the smell of an oily rag. If it wasn't, there was not a lot of brand new equipment lying around. There was invariably equipment that was held together with things, but he could always fix it, he could always get it done. He was born in Bombala in New South Wales, just south of Canberra, on the 17th of March in 1950. He was brought up on farms around New South Wales, which gave him many of the skills that were so valued in places like Robertson River. Went to school in Queensland at the Anglican Church Grammar School known as the Churchies, where he met his lifelong mate, David Murray. David reflects that Bill was a great athlete. Not only was he in the first 15 for rugby and the top 8 for rowing, he's also a good hurdler. He was in the Army for 6 years, where he became a platoon commander of 4 Platoon B Company. Bill left to set up a furniture restoration business, but in 1994 with his wife, Sandy, he decided that he would set off on a new enterprise and went to the Aboriginal community of Finke in the Northern Territory, which is pretty close to the South Australian border. This isolated desert town was well served by Bill. He was there for 2 years, and in that 2 years, it won in those 2 years the Territory Tidiest Town competition. And I can recall people telling me about the impact that the South's arrival in that community had on that community. And Bill's style, I guess, was never always about imposing things. He had a capacity to be able to come into a community and suddenly making these goals and vision, the whole community vision, working together as a community to clean up the community and to make things better. The sewage system didn't work when he got there, but Bill rolled his sleeves up, and with the help of the community, no outside contractors, he fixed up the sewage system and got it running. There's a lot of dogs in Finke at those times. It was a bit unsafe. Not all dogs in Aboriginal communities from time to time don't belong to anyone. They're community dogs. They can be a bit cheeky. And so he decided at one end of the town, basically, we should all have a fence so we can control the area, make sure we're safe from dogs. So every house in Finke, as he moved around, had a fence. The huge difference. He always got, as I said, got people involved, and he ensured that his value and ethic about work was passed on to people. He reckoned that they needed a reason to get up in the morning, and that was to feel good about working. He was always willing to pitch in, but it's a great lesson to all of us. He's willing to work alongside you and show you what to do, but he's not willing to do it all the time for you. So he would be prepared in a way of a real teacher. He'd show us how it was done, but then he'd want to move out of the way and let it be done by the local people, including running the organisations and taking leadership roles on some of these programs. And so, as David Murray indicated, that particular community was lifted out of what could only be described as squalor to what was clearly now to prosperity, happiness. There were so many more people working and engaged in the community, and it became a community of hope. In April of 2001, he and Sandy moved to the Gulf of Carpentaria to become the town clerk of Borroloola. This is the first time that I'd met Bill. He was there for 2 years. He had a major hand in designing and implementing a causeway to ensure that the large community on the other side of the MacArthur River was able to get access to the store and the school and the hospital. He ran a very tight ship. In 2003, he moved to the community of Robertson River, and it didn't take him too long before the place was up and running. I mean, his list of achievements in Robertson River are huge. He helped turn the community around from, as I said, a sense of dependency. It was a welfare community, fairly despondent, a lot of challenges in the community we find sadly across many Aboriginal communities, particularly in North Australia, to a place that was just, wherever you went there, it was full of activity, people were proud of what we're doing, they all had a place to go to work every day, and that was part of his legacy. One of the first things he did, he got the cattle business moving, and I can recall the last time I was there, I actually recognised some of the cattle. They're from the Coodati stud, from the O'Briens, and from Nummal Nummal, fantastic bloodlines, some of the best in the territory, and he allowed the community to, when they made money from their enterprises, they reinvested in the community. There's a fantastic herd, a cattle herd there, and it was fantastic to see Aboriginal stockmen. That is who they are. You say, Joey, what do you do? Who are you? I'm a stockman, brother. That's what I do. I'm proud of that. And so there's a natural set of skill sets that suddenly become valuable again. We've got a cattle herd. They're out there. They're looking after the cattle, and they're going fencing. The last time I was there, extensive fences, beautifully graded fence lines to deal with the fires and such like. And interestingly, there's a bit of a demarcation because fences, we have the fence ends are all welded, because in the Northern Territory the white ants make a real meal out of anything else. And it's interesting, the demarcation there is that there is only women's work in Robertson River. And one of the particular areas that's women's only, of course, is the welding team. They'll tell you welding is women's work. This isn't anyone else's work. And no men weld anything in Robertson River. And they have this well-known team. I know that Senator Siewert knows them well. But so they've built up their own welding team. So they make frames and joists for the houses. They make all the rigid ends for the fencing. And they're a very, just a wonderful group of women who have said, this is our work, we guard it jealously, this is what we're going to do. And they've basically banned men from doing any of this stuff because they, on the very probably correct principle that they're absolutely hopeless at it and only women can really weld. So the important thing about reinforcing the benefits of this in this community is that they use local people. And yes, that was more difficult. He'd say, yes, it'd be great to get a plumber in because he'd know all about it. It just takes us longer. But every time we finished a job that was hard and didn't have any help, we had this capacity. We had this wonderful new capacity that the next time we had this plumbing drama, the 8 of us, instead of one plumber that had to scratch our heads and nut it out, we knew how to do it, we knew how to fix it, and he knew this was all about ensuring that everything that he did, there was a legacy of a capacity build. So Robertson River had developed a brand, a solution to transform dysfunctional communities into functional, healthy working environments that I think can be replicated in other communities. But again, Bill used to reinforce that this wasn't something that could just be imposed. It had to be something with a willingness and had to grow that from the community, and it was through his particular skills of communication that he was able to achieve that. I can remember he pushed and eventually got an airstrip upgraded, and I can tell you in the middle of nowhere, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get the resources to be able to go and make that an all-weather strip. The store, he established this store, was a major boost to the community, and he decided that they would have a no-freight policy for healthy food. So if you had enough money, you could go and buy a meat pie, but it's an expensive business to buy a meat pie in Robertson River. If you wanted to buy an apple or fruit or vegetables, they were very cheap. So the profit that the store made subsidised the healthy foods. Because healthy foods were a little cheaper, if you want to lash out on a meat pie every now and again, you had some savings, and it's been a fantastic process. The store makes enough money to run as a sustainable store. Wherever you go in Robertson River, it's amazing. You talk about a vegetable garden. Well, their vegetable garden is 3 times the size of this Senate chamber. It has, and I'm a bit of a brown thumb, not a green thumb, but in the Territory you've got about 8 weeks to grow something, and either it gets eaten or it gets too hot. But they have it down to a fine art, and year round they provide the vegetables for the store. And then you just go around the corner a bit and you say, oh, they've got a few chooks. I can hear a couple of chooks, must have a couple of chooks scrapping around. You know, there's one pen there and I think there's 500 chickens. I'm saying, what's going on here, guys? And, oh, look, no, we send 30 dozen eggs to the mine. The miners can get fresh eggs. The price that we give for the miners subsidises our own eggs and the feed. It's a system. And they have access to cheap food in the places where the food is the most costly thing anywhere. And he's just done an absolutely fantastic job in changing those things around. They've got a herd of goats for milking. They've got a beef herd. So when they need to go and buy beef, when you go and buy beef in the Robertson River shop, it comes from down the road. You just drove past Dad or Mum on the way there. They butcher it themselves, and they're still able to then to sell it at a price that people can afford to buy. And so we've got this whole basis that it's so important to provide good nutrition at an affordable rate. And that has been the answer, as Bill always knew, to many of the health challenges faced by Aboriginal Australians in some of these remote areas. A great believer in education. Without an education, he believed you didn't have a great deal of future, a great deal of a future, and he was always lecturing all those who would listen about the importance of education. And I think the schools and the kids are so engaged with the educational system is really a testament to his constant lecturing and badgering of everybody in that area. A very practical bloke. He wouldn't say no. Nothing was too hard. He had heaps of energy, and whilst he was very forthright about advocating for the people of Robertson River, I think he was a real quiet achiever behind the scenes, ensuring that any opportunity for people who are taking his place to a large extent, like Tony Jack, to step up and be able to play that leadership role, that Bill stood aside. So the people who met Bill, including the politicians and other influential Australians who were lucky enough to pass through Robertson River, would always come back with great stories about Bill. And I used to often get phone calls saying, you should go and meet this Bill South in Robertson. I said, look, I have, it's doing well, and we're really trying to pass that on. He was never shy of ringing up the minister, I understand, either, and explaining what was right and what was wrong, and it was tremendous that he had this capacity to be able to connect with people of influence in Canberra. I remember David Murray when Major General Dave Chalmers visited during the intervention. His parting words were, if only I could clone 100 Bill South, then we wouldn't be in this mess. Truer words were never said. Bill had a great affection and a great relationship with the Garawa people, and they have a great affection for him. I trust this is a fitting tribute to Bill South, an unsung hero, a great bloke, a great Australian. Many things come and go in this world, but his legacy will live on because it's in the hearts of the local people. They'll take it forward. Robertson River will remain a beacon for others and a testament to Bill South.